Hello, I'm Paula Harris-White, and joining me is
John Lewis.
And we are your hosts for today's celebration. We're members of the Martin Luther King Celebration Planning Committee. It's a King County committee that plans the celebration every year, and now we're in our 27th year. We are very honored to represent departments and employees from almost every department in the county on this committee. So again, we say welcome and enjoy the show. You got somewhat of a preview of the show with the music we had earlier. One of our very talented and that vocalist and band leader is Michael Hepburn from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office.
Thank you all for coming today. Let's start our event as a community. Would you please stand, and we invite all to join with our talented MLK King County employee singers in singing Lift Every Voice and Sing. You can find the words on the insert in your program. Again, please join in.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won.
So I would also like to take a moment to recognize our elected officials who have joined us today. We have Council Chair Larry Phillips, who you will see on the program, Councilmember Larry Gossett, Councilmember Joe McDermott, Councilmember Rod Dembowski, Councilmember Jane Haig, our Sheriff John Urquhart, our Assessor Lloyd Hara, the Prosecuting Attorney Dan Satterberg, and from the District Court, the following judges: the Presiding Judge Corinna Harn, Judge Ann Harper, Johanna Bender, Mark Chow, and Marcine Anderson. From the Superior Court, Judge Judith Ramsayer, Roger Rogoff, Regina Cahan, Barbara Mack, and Sean O'Donnell. So please give them a hand as well. Our theme for this year's celebration is Dr. King's reminder to us: no work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence. Sharing remarks with us on the celebration is our own King County Executive, Dow Constantine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Seattle Theater Group, the operators of the Paramount Theater, for hosting us in this beautiful facility today. It is my honor to join you for this celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Today's event is, as always, organized by the employees of King County, which makes today's theme so fitting. That theme is inspired by the words of Dr. King. No work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence. This statement describes well the work that you strive to do in service to the people of King County. Whether you're helping uninsured families obtain health insurance or ensuring equitable treatment in our court system or providing the basic services that people need every day. Your work has dignity. It is important. And you have shown every day your commitment to that painstaking excellence. I can see it, and increasingly we are able to demonstrate it to the people. You are respected for your work. The year 2014 also marks the 50th anniversary of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. That landmark legislation was a written guarantee of equal opportunity in employment, along with the right to vote. And it outlawed discrimination in public facilities and public education. With this anniversary, we look back to see the progress that has been made. But we are also moved to take stock of how much still needs to be accomplished. King County's recent annual report on equity and social justice shows that we have much work to do, work that remains unfinished. It shows us that where you live and your family's financial status and the color of your skin remain major predictors of your chance of living well and thriving. Even as inequities grow more pronounced, King County continues to become more diverse. King County has added 200,000 people over the past decade, the vast majority people of color. Bellevue and Redmond are now more diverse than Seattle. Tukwila, Renton, and SeaTac are all majority minority cities. My core commitment as King County Executive is to make sure every person has a fair shot at success, irrespective of race or wealth or the neighborhood in which you live. In King County, we have enshrined our vision for an equitable government into law in the adoption of the fair and just principle in our strategic plan. Simply put, we seek to integrate equity considerations into everything we do at King County, every decision, every policy, every practice. In our hiring and in our training, we are eliminating barriers to job applicants to create a diverse hiring pool and help ensure that our workforce better reflects the community we serve. We can do more. We can do more to include all the diversity that is King County in our employee family, to reach out in new and innovative ways, and to ensure that we remain the employer of choice for young people seeking careers in public service. We have a great program today. Thank you for joining us to honor the memory of Dr. King as we continue to strive to meet his challenge to build a just and inclusive society. And thank you for all you do for the people of Martin Luther King County. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Before I proceed with my remarks, let's just pause for a moment and give another round of applause for the expression of talent given by our MLK speakers and also our singers and also our musicians here today. Please. Thank you. Thank you for doing so. I'm Larry Phillips, Chair of the King County Council. I'm very pleased and honored and privileged to be here with you today for one of the events of the year that's a favorite of mine and a chance to be a participant with you again today in honoring Dr. Martin Luther King. As all of us know, Dr. King was a leader whose virtues and aspirations have benefited all of America, including every resident of King County. And I speak for all of us in noting that we have all been uplifted by the ideals of peace, justice, freedom, and equality promoted by Dr. King. Fortunately, with us today is another leader whose work has left a lasting legacy in this community and benefited all the people of King County. Councilmember Larry Gossett, as a young man, was very active in the civil rights movement. He was one of the founders of the Black Student Union at the University of Washington, where he worked diligently to eliminate racial discrimination and also to increase minority enrollment. Mr. Gossett followed Dr. King's example of using nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience to stand for justice and equality. In fact, I think as many members here in the audience know, his efforts landed him in jail at the King County Courthouse. That'll come in a moment. As we know, the courthouse has since been remodeled, and that site that was once a jail cell where he served time to advance freedom, today is the office where he serves as a member of the King County Council. Thank you for noting that. It was a long and productive journey, and one I think is worth noting for all time. But for over 2 decades, Councilmember Gossett has been a voice, I would say the voice, for the disadvantaged and underrepresented in King County. And on our council, he never lets us forget the importance of those individuals and our charge and mission. He has shined a light on inequities within our communities and worked to break down barriers and improve access for minorities, immigrants, and people who are economically disadvantaged. Councilmember Gossett has led tirelessly, efforts to increase funding for crime diversion programs and programs to help at-risk youth as an alternative to building more jails. He has been an advocate for funding social services and ensuring our region has a safety net for people who fall on hard times. He was a leader in the council, adopting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s image as the logo for King County. And we have been very fortunate to have amongst us a public servant in our region who has lived on a daily basis in the spirit of Dr. King. And before I ask our keynote speaker, Mr. Gossett, to come out and join us, let me just share a personal note with you. Larry and I are contemporaries. Not exactly, I'm a couple years younger, but we're nevertheless contemporaries in the sense that we have marched through time together. I grew up in the Rainier Valley, attended John Muir Elementary, went to Asa Mercer Junior High School, and ahead of me were, as we all experience, young people who I admired and people who I wanted to be like as I grew up. Larry Gossett was one of those. First as an athlete, then as a student at the University of Washington, a student activist on campus, later as a community organizer and activist, making great strides in our community as a staffer, and then together for over two decades on the King County Council. He has been an inspiration to me. I've often thought of him as a hero, as many of you have, but I also am very grateful to be able to call Larry Gossett my friend. So I would like you to join me at this time in welcoming our keynote speaker, King County Council member Larry Gossett. This is a great moment for me, and one for you too.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a great, thank you very much. This is a great crowd. Actually, though, from here, we are not able to see you, but I can feel you. I'm serious, I can feel that a lot of people here, and we are extremely grateful that this many fellow employees as well as community guests have joined us on this, our 27th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration. Before I begin my prepared remarks, I would like to say to you, I get a lot of opportunities to travel around our country as well as around the world. And most of you know that this is the only geographic jurisdiction in the world community that's named in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. And I need to tell you, because I think you'll appreciate it, that every time I go to other locales, people are extremely excited, inspired by the story of how this county came to be named after Dr. King, and even more so, and I did not know that this would be the case, they're more inspired by the fact that we are one of the few governments in the United States of America that has ever changed its logo. There have been others that changed it, but sometimes it's for technical reasons. And that we changed it to reflect the image of Dr. King. So I'd like for all of you to join me in giving King County a hand. I want to thank Larry Phillips for the very nice introduction again. He did come to some of my basketball games when I went to Franklin High School. He's one of the few people in our government that is aware that I had a life before political activism. He's also the longest serving, though, person on the King County Council, having joined the council in January of '91. He's 6 years chronologically younger than I, but he's the longest serving council member. And this past Monday, we had our first meeting under him as our new chair, and I had forgotten how experienced and polished he is. He was extremely succinct and very clear to everyone who participated Monday, and definitely for some of the people that come to our meeting, they could see and feel that it's no foolishness. We're just going to be taking care of business. So he's also a great leader, and I thank him for that. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the King County Employees Martin Luther King Jr. Committee for sponsoring this fabulous celebration. The first one I went to was back in 1994, my first year on the county council, and it was held at the old Kingdom, and it was very, very inspirational. I had not seen anything like it. And I'm pleased that we every year still have a committee. So won't you join me in giving it up for the King County employees? And given our theme about the significance of work, these workers, we're really lucky to have them because, as you have already heard, the workers on our committee, many of them are also talented in other ways. Every singer that you saw on the stage before me is a King County employee. That's great, too. I would like to also acknowledge the 3 winners of this year's essay contest. This was a great innovation. I don't know who actually thought about it, that every year we honor 3 8th graders. There are 14 school districts in King County, and we ask as many schools that we've been able to identify to encourage their 8th graders to write on whatever subject matter we're have selected as our theme, and then we just take the very, very best amongst them and honor them by having them come down and join us, and you'll meet them a little later. But that's a tremendous challenge for young people all throughout our community to participate in it. And I'm just very pleased that we've had every year so many eighth graders that have participated. Let's give it up for all the participants in our essay contest. Martin Luther King Jr. has pointed out the significance of work, and I'd like to reiterate what our theme is this year, because during the minutes that I have left, I'm going to kind of reinforce and hopefully expand a bit on why this theme is so important to our county and why it's so meaningful this year. So to do that, I need to reiterate again what it is. And it's on the top of our calendar. We are hopeful that at the end of this celebration, everyone will grab a calendar and use it throughout the year. But at the top of our 2014 calendar, it has the following quote from Dr. King: "No work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence." Martin Luther King Jr. is pointing out that we too frequently in our society overlook or fail to recognize the significance of non-professional employees, or we tend to emphasize too much those jobs that we consider to be big-time positions. We did not give recognition, credence, or very much importance most of the time to work of janitors, sanitation workers, hospital orderlies, or butlers. One of our essay winners this year, Lucy, who you'll meet later, she was very poignant in her workshop. It's very relevant for our theme. And she said, "I'm a woman of African descent." She was born in Africa. And she talks about the thousands of Africans who, in order to have better lives for themselves and their families, leave Africa and go across the Mediterranean Sea into Europe, often as illegal workers, and how they work into the nights because they're so fearful of getting caught during the day. But that money ends up taking care of the families that they have in their new homelands, as well as, depending upon what African country you're talking about, they send back 20, 30% of the money that's in that income moving around that country each year. So these workers are very important. And this is who Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about when he said that all work is significant. Matter of fact, Martin Luther King believed that whenever you are engaged with work that serves humanity and is for building humanity, it has dignity, and that work has worth. That work has worth. How many of you saw, well, I'm not going to be able to see your hands if you raise them, but recently there was a movie that has been out called The Butler, and it's about an African-American man who worked for 8 different presidents as the butler. And reading and looking at that movie, I would like for you to remember, if you've seen the movie, and I'd like to share with you what Martin Luther King Jr. said in the film, and oftentimes in real life, about the value of domestic workers and butlers. Martin Luther King was in a movie. He was in a meeting and he had some of his aides around the room with him, and one of the aides was a son of this butler who works in the White House, and he asked him, "What does your father do for work?" And Louis Gaines, the son, that was the son's name, unenthusiastically said, "He's a butler in the White House." But Martin Luther King perked up. He said, "Son, do you know," and he said this in a quite provoking but poignant manner that caused everybody in the room to think about what he was saying. "Son, do you know that domestic workers, particularly butlers, have played an important role in the black community? They defy racial stereotyping by being hardworking, efficient, competent, and extremely well-disciplined. The butler's competence causes many of the white elite and privileged classes to challenge their own stereotyping." MLK concluded by calmly explaining to Louis, the son of the butler, the butler is not subservient, but actually progressive without really knowing it. In the movie, Presidents Kennedy and Johnson confide, because these perhaps were the only Negroes, that's what they called us back then, that these powerful leaders had ever met, and they confided in the butler the respect that they have for what his son was doing as a participant in the freedom movement. And President Kennedy actually said that the young people who were leaving school and going to jail and forcing America to begin to practice its own creed had become very inspirational to them. And they were willing, in my perspective, to talk to the butler because they felt comfortable with him. He had knocked down the stereotypes about being lazy and not being willing to talk about the issues of today because of the magnificence of their work in the White House. And it's extremely unusual for anybody to work in the public arena for 8 different bosses like this particular butler did. That meant he was extremely skilled and he was very excellent, and that's why these men really looked up to him. Then, and I just have a few more minutes, when Martin Luther King Jr. met with the sanitation workers during the last few months of his life in Memphis, Tennessee, he had the occasion to talk to them a few times. And he talked to them, and he's always rather well-read, but he said, "You all should be proud as sanitation workers in this city of Memphis." And he asked them whether or not they recalled or knew that in Memphis, Tennessee, because of the lack of well-oiled sanitation system, Memphis as a town was almost wiped out in terms of the population in 1866 because of the yellow fever plague. They had ineffectual and not well planned and not highly thought of sanitation system and workers, and them being inefficient and not being able to work and not building the kind of system that other cities even then was already having, it caused the death of a lot of people. So he told the workers that health and good pay of the sanitation workers is as important to our community's health, as is that of the physician. Because if he doesn't, meaning the sanitation worker, do a good job, Just like the physician, it could lead to the injuries of people or even their death. So you should have dignity. You should know that your work is important, that it's thought about, and that the only reason that anyone or yourself should be calling it menial is because you get menial wages and support for that work. And we're here to let this entire city know that the work that you do is very important, it's meaningful, and it's not going to be menial, and you're going to get the work pay. You're going to get the pay that you deserve. And this had a profound impact. It was only the next day that these sanitation workers started carrying the signs that I think most of you have seen, where it says, "I am a man." This concept of being dignified, this concept of being proud, this concept that I deserve to be treated as a man came from the remarks that they had heard a few days before that from Martin Luther King Jr. Before I conclude, I want to just mention to you again why this quote about the significance of work should be valuable to us as King County employees. When I first came aboard in 1994, we used to personally go and participate in the orientation of new employees. And I told them that to the extent that I'm going to be able to make it as a politician is going to be determined by the kind of work that you do. I cannot stay in office. Most of the men and women who are here as elected officials, and by the way, we're very happy all of you are here, particularly Rod Dembowski. I think this is only his first or second MLK event. We could not keep our jobs if y'all didn't drive the buses and make sure they came in on time. We would not keep our job if you didn't make sure that the wastewater is clean, doesn't smell too bad, and is kept from polluting Lake Washington, Lake Union, the Puget Sound. People don't think about this, but this work that you all do is extremely important. One of the employees that I've grown to admire most here in King County is Howard Manta. Howard is eligible for public access. I think that's how he gets to work and gets home from work. But every time or often when I stay in my office to 6 or 6:30, I have the occasion to see him leaving the county administration building, always packed with bags of garbage from offices in the administration building that are taller than him. And he always has 2 carts because he has a time frame that he needs to get all of his work done. And he's pushing this work, these baskets, to a place in the King County Courthouse where he could deal with getting rid of the waste. And I stopped Howard. I said, "Howard, I'm really proud to see you, and I want you to know that your work is very important. We could not exist as well as we do as office workers in King County if you didn't work so hard and took the kind of pride that you take in doing the work that you do. So thank you, bro." Finally, in talking to the sanitation workers right before he died, Dr. King concluded by telling them that the entire community of Memphis will be righteously uplifted, will be healthy if we're able to continue to work together to keep the struggle going, to make sure that sanitation workers are treated decently, paid fairly, and allowed to organize a union. He treated the workers with dignity and as men, and they acted accordingly. We as employees of King County government, should not do less. We should learn from Martin Luther King Jr. the importance of respecting all work and continue to build the beloved community here in the greater community of Seattle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Gossett, for those inspiring words and for living such an inspiring life. You really are the epitome of what Dr. King taught us about building the beloved community. Krista Bell is an award-winning spoken word poet, performance artist, and feminist culture creator, and an MA candidate in cultural studies at the University of Washington Bothell campus, and she's from Seattle. Her work, which primarily explores the spiritual politics of female bodies, has been featured on National Public Radio, as a TED Talk, and on AfterEllen.com, and she has performed by invitation at over 100 universities, colleges, festivals, and performance venues throughout the world. Her current performance work is scheduled to be included in the Whitney Museum of American Art 2014 Biennial as part of a global collective. She's a founding member of Real Colored Girls. Would you please join me in welcoming Krista Bell?
I can't see anyone. Did anyone else grow up in the 70s? Did anyone's parents keep them home on Martin Luther King Jr. Day before it was a holiday? Y'all remember the 70s? Y'all remember watching Roots when it came out? And going to school the next day mad? This first piece I'd like to dedicate to the ancestors. Specifically, I'd like to dedicate this piece to Trayvon Martin, Renisha McBride, and one of the fathers of the Black Arts Movement who just passed last week, Amiri Baraka. Shall we begin then? Will you indulge us? Will you engage both DNA and imagination for this conversation? Can you pretend that we, so many millions of Black bodies, are standing in front, to the side, and behind you? Can you imagine that you are alone with us? That you're alone, encircled by millions of Black bodies? Can you imagine that you are alone with us, encircled by us in the dark? Can you see us in the darkness? Do we shine amongst the shadows? Do our fractured skins remind you of things you would forget? Are these bloated eyes familiar in our paralyzed faces? Do our feathered backs look strange for their amputated wings? And if we call you to speak at the center of this circle, surrounded in the dark, can you tell us how you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? We have always felt you, but how do you feel? And if you feel safe enough, and you may wonder rightly on this sharp and glittering question of safety, will you close your eyes? And if we invited you to be the next Black body, can you, with eyes closed, know yourself as one of us? From moment to moment and for eternity, you are one of us. And now that you are alone with us and one of us in the circle in the dark, now that you're part of the Blackness, is it different? Can you tell us how you feel? Are you new? Are you frightened? Are you innocent? Are you brave? Do you feel loved? Do you feel hope? Do you feel hoped for? Do you feel anyone hoping for you? Is anyone hoping for you in the Black circle that is us? What about your thoughts? Are they colored too? Are they red-eyed and writhing or pale as a tongue? Do your thoughts belong to us yet? Do they sing in the darkness? Are they part of the now humming circle as well? Do we have your attention? Are you really one of us yet? Are you humming? Are you feeling? Can I tell you a story? The mistress had Lulu's ears pierced so that when they healed, she could snatch the earrings out. Lulu's ears were in shreds by her 10th birthday, so the mistress began piercing her lips. Once she pierced them in the center with a golden hoop, and Lulu could only eat from the sides of her mouth, a slurp here, a crumb there, and this is when Lulu began to disappear, until at last, finally, her lips were shredded too, and so the mistress pierced her nose. At 15, Lulu was a shredded silk pillow embroidered by fairies with ruthless needles. Yet in all her wretchedness, she blazed the meaning of light, all the colors gathered in her blood, a road of rainbows to the stars. You ask of the mistress. Well, she blazed too, on the borrowed light of Lulu, who shone bright, so you'd remember. And they danced and shone together, mistress and fetish, until neither outsider nor ancestor could tell them apart. They danced a ring shout, counterclockwise for the past. They danced a two-step with the future cutting in. They danced because others were waiting for their story, and the only way to tell it was by stomp, slip, and slide. What is that, you say? Why must you know this story? Why do you have to hear it? And where do you put it now? And who will save the shredded? And who can love the shredder? And if we cannot tell them apart, how will we know what to do? But aren't you now a black body? Didn't you come here for this? And doesn't this question belong to you now? Did no one tell you that it's our turn to forget? You are the next black body, and it's our turn to forget. Isn't it our turn to lay it down? Won't it rest on your head? Isn't this, after all, what you came here for? And this next piece is a poem for, I hope I'm saying her name right, Kashama Sawant, who has committed to raising the minimum wage. Because this is America, we all abide by the slave work ethic. Don't ever let them tell you this is a Puritan thing, because this is America. They tell us the grindstone is liberation and poverty is punishment for not getting free, because this is America. The sun comes up and the sky stays black, but off to the fields of skyscrapers you still go. Your alarm goes off. It's 6 a.m. every morning at the same time. It's 6 a.m. Some of you are aroused by the sound of your own blood. Some of you are aroused by crying children in another room. Some of you have weak bladders that drive you from bed. Some of you are startled abruptly awake by the same nightmare you've had for 20 years. And maybe in this nightmare, you're drowning in the water cooler. Maybe the overseer at work is plotting your demise. In this dream, you've missed your last 3 mortgage payments and wake up shivering, your body's drenched in heat. These are frightening times. Families are turning their vehicles into 2-bedroom condos, wrapping their children in lint and raising them under bridges in this home of the brave and rumbling stomach, where everyone you know is a paycheck away, just one paycheck away from mugging the collection plate. There's plenty of insecurity to go around, plenty of fear-drenched prophecies for the future. But there's only one question that matters. Do you want to be well? Do you want to get better? America, do you want to be well? And it's still 6 a.m. Some of you slept sitting up last night because you drank last night, or you got high last night, which is legal now. You picked someone up from a bar last night. You were hungover before you hit the sheets last night. And this is how you bear your waking life, your living, breathing, incredulous life, where corporations are a brand new species of human being, more respected by the laws than black boys and men. I wish I won the lottery. I hope I win the lottery. I can't forget to play the lottery. Please let me win the lottery. And those of you who serve gods, hope they can't hear you, this prayer to false idols of state benevolence, as invisible as Jesus who taught, you will always have the poor with you, instead of structural change, instead of revolution, instead of equality of persons. Building new dreams is like flying to outer space and learning a new language only the moon can understand. Can you harness your imagination to collage a different vision? Do you have the patience for wellness to let your sickness go? In the New York Times this past Sunday, there was a story about a man who hadn't worked since April with a family of 4 to feed. After dozens of interviews, he landed a position as a cook, making $13 an hour in the most expensive city on earth. And the soft whisper of the machine told me that this was the natural order, like things that sprouted from the ground and grew into rainforests, ancient and inevitable as a mountain, this system in which a family of 4 finds hope in the hopelessness of $13 an hour. The sky is the same color at the end of your workday as it was when you began. You return home exhausted, slouch in front of the TV, let the corporate sponsors sing you their capitalist hymns. Tonight, you eat enough meat for 3 people to blot out the day, to stupefy you till the weekend. Are you sure you want to be well, America? Are you ready to take on this frothing, cruel beast? Tell the truth, even if it isn't pretty, and look this country in the eye. Demand that she treats you better. Thank you.
And now we will turn to our Student Essay Awards. This award is the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Student Essay Award, which is sponsored by the King County Civil Rights Commission, chaired by Justin Walsh, who will present the awards to our three students.
Now, before I announce the winners of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest, I'd like to give thanks to Krista Bell and to the MLK King County Employee Singers for their wonderful performances. And I'd also like to thank you all for being here today and taking the time out of your day to celebrate Dr. King and celebrate his dream of equality. This year is the 15th year that the King County Civil Rights Commission has sponsored an essay contest open to all 8th grade students of the county that focuses on the work of Dr. King. The contest provides an opportunity for these middle school students to deepen their knowledge of Dr. King's life and work and to reflect on the meaning of his legacy in their own time as they address this year's theme, a quote from Dr. King about doing what you can, however you can, to uplift those around you. The quote is, "No work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence." The Commission is extremely proud to honor these students for their awareness of Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement. Their essays capture and express eloquently the meaning of this year's theme and showcase the ongoing work that each of us can do to continue Dr. King's legacy. Each student's essay demonstrated how the values of Dr. King continue in our young people. On behalf of the Civil Rights Commission, it gives me great pleasure to announce this year's award of trophies and prizes for the top 3 essays for this year's contest. Our second place winner is Lucy Mujugira of St. Therese Catholic Academy. Now, for the first time that I can remember, we have a tie for first place this year. Ray Hirschfeld Smith and Mung Mung Gims, both from Lake Washington Girls Academy. The members of the Civil Rights Commission are proud of the work of these students, whose essays you can read on the Commission's website. Would you please join us in congratulating Mung Mung, Ray, and Lucy, the winners of our 2013 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest.
So it has been quite an exciting performance, I think. I just wanted to acknowledge the gentlemen and gentle ladies of the Sheriff's Department because the Sheriff brought his, I think it looks like his entire command staff with him, and I just want to give them acknowledgement there. So we want to thank our speakers, Councilmember Larry Gossett, who gave a very engaging and empowering speech, our County Executive Dow Constantine, Council Chair Larry Phillips, again, the MLK County Employee Singers, Krista Bell, and our wonderful musicians, Mark Adams on guitar, Jay Oliver II on drums, Jill Higgins Hendricks on flute, John Studemeyer on bass, and then of course our wonderful Michael Hepburn on keyboard, who also was the person regaling you with vocals as you entered today. The Celebration Committee members, thank you, all of you. You are quite a joy and a blessing to work with. And congratulations again to our Essay Award winners.
And many thanks to all of you in the audience for being with us today. Remember, we want to see you again next year for our 28th annual celebration. And we know many of you have to head on back to work, so please do so. But as you leave, would you please stand and join the ML King County Employee Singers for singing America the Beautiful. And again, the words are in the insert in your program. Thanks again.
plentiful, for spacious skies, for